Okay, well, I want to welcome all of you here this morning to the second day of Dreamforce. Thanks for waking up early to make this early bird session. I think if many of you may have heard that we're having a drawing today for waking up early and getting in here for an iPod Touch. So we'll award that at the end of the session. Make sure you get a raffle ticket if you don't already have it. So we're here to talk about manufacturing and retail in custom clouds, and really how to think about innovative solutions for your companies using the Force.com platform. And we've got a great set of speakers here that I'll introduce you to in a moment. My name's Dwight Moore. I run industry solutions for manufacturing, distribution, and retail here at Salesforce. And over to my right is Mike Murphy from Ashland. He is a process improvement manager in the customer acquisition group at Ashland. And then sitting next to him is Barry Selnick, who's CFO for Barry Sobel with Belnick, who's their CFO. And then sitting next to him is Dana Super with Morisaki, and she's a marketing manager. They're each going to tell you their stories about using Force.com applications in manufacturing and retail. Before we get there, here's our safe harbor statement, which I'm sure you've seen so far in each of the sessions. Again, we're a public company traded on the New York Stock Exchange, and we're sharing this with you in kind of recognition that anything that we talk about around future functionality or capabilities is covered by the safe harbor statement, and you can find details online. So again, we're going to walk through what is Force.com in manufacturing and retail, what does that mean, and then share with you 3 different vignettes from our customer speakers here. And then you'll have a chance to ask them your questions, so the mic is in the center of the room. At the end of the session, we'll open it up and take your questions for each of the speakers. So again, Force.com is a platform built on our cloud infrastructure that we're providing. And it's the fastest way to build custom cloud applications today. So with the Force.com platform, it allows unlimited real-time customization. It has built-in real-time workflow and approval processes that you can leverage throughout the applications that you build, as well as real-time analytics. And in fact, whatever you build on the Force.com platform, you can also leverage real-time mobile deployment, among many of the other capabilities of this rich platform capability. So when you think about manufacturing, what might you build using the Force.com platform? And really, the way you should think about it is, what can't you build? So here are a set of examples of what our customers are using the Force.com platform to build today in manufacturing and retail. So it's inventory management, raw materials management, project management, resource scheduling, and the list goes on and on. So everything from building ERP systems with accounts receivable and accounts payable, to improving customer service, sales, and support processes, to things far beyond that within the organization. So what I'm going to do is turn it over now to some of our customer speakers. They're going to share with you their stories of how they've leveraged the Force.com platform, and then we'll open up to your questions. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Mike Murphy with Ashland.
Great. Thank you, Dwight.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Well, good morning. I saw they were walking, when you were walking in, they were handing out these eye patches. I hope you don't need those. Or I thought they were trying to tell me maybe my slides weren't here. But good news is everything's here, so we're ready to go with that. As Dwight mentioned, I'm with Ashland. Ashland is made up of 5 businesses, 5 very unique businesses. We have a specialty manufacturing and chemical business. We have a distribution business. We have a functional fine ingredients business that supplies materials to businesses like P&G, Maybelline, those type of areas. We also have a wastewater treatment company, and the one that everyone really knows, the sexy one, is Valvoline, the motor oil business with that. We have over 15,000 employees globally, and right now we have about 2,700 users on Salesforce. We're in the process of probably increasing that by another 1,000 to 1,500 because we are integrating the wastewater treatment company into our one system and one org with that there. So what I want to do is talk to you a little bit today how Ashland uses the Force. We've been with Salesforce a little over 6 years now. We've rolled it out globally, the Salesforce tool. And these are just some of the applications we use on the Force. One is customer material consumption. And you sit here and you go, what is that? Well, what we try to do is we try to understand customers use material in their processes. Going from A to B, they may use 10 materials. We want to know what those are. 5 of them we potentially sell. 3, we have the opportunity to sell. 2, we may not sell. It begins to build our market intelligence about all those raw materials. The other one is a global sample request process. Being in a chemical manufacturer, we need to help companies potentially change processes or tweak formulas. So we need the ability to meet those demands from a global perspective. From that aspect there, we also have the sales call prep report that allows our sellers to roll up everything in one easy format for them to see it and be able to print it and take it into customers. We also have, as part of our customer material consumption, we built a competitor object, so I'll touch on that one a little later also. We've also been in the chemical industry and wastewater treatment. We deal a lot with tanks, inspections, as well as labels. So it's a way for our sellers to request all this information. Our Salesforce.com platform is our seller portal. We expect them to go there for everything and start everything there with that. And then behind the scenes, our technical group uses it also to track all our releases, all our enhancements. I saw a presentation yesterday by a gentleman by Avaya, and he was talking about how they use it also. It's a way to also score your projects so you know which ones prioritize and run to the top using the idea exchange. And we have planned right now, we're doing something around forecasting for our materials for our customers and integrating that. So today, as I mentioned, I want to talk about the customer material consumption. And as I mentioned, it's the way to talk about market intelligence. We had a lot of businesses, and I'm sure everybody else knows this, a lot of spreadsheets, a lot of databases. You buy a lot of information from different companies also. You need to manage this and be able to use it and then give it back to people in a way that they can use it. So we looked at all this information. We said it's very valuable. We need to be able to track it and report on it. And really comes down to we want to understand not only how the customer uses the materials, but what they're using, so that way we can set our strategies going forward from there. So the key challenge we faced was how do we capture this information for marketing with, on my side, I'm looking at it, how do we not burden the seller too much? They're the closest ones to this. And marketing, as we know, they want 80 fields on an opportunity object. They want everything. Yet a seller's going, I can maybe only get you 1 or 2 pieces of key information. So you have to balance that. And so we looked at it, as I said, the seller we want to capture the data, they're closest to the customer. They're the easiest ones to get it. They're in those plants. They understand what those customers are using. But also, in the other way, you have the ability, marketing goes out and buys lists. There's a lot of companies that offer data on marketing. So you want to bring that in. You want to be able to merge those two together to be able to then turn around and look at things from a global perspective. Not only from a global perspective, but then to be able to roll it down or by each market. So metrics is key. Reporting, dashboards. And that's why as we get forward, we said, okay, our key challenge is how do we create this and allow you to track this information and also report on it. As we went through things, we said, okay, and I like pictures, so I had to put a little business process in here. We try to make it simple so everybody can understand it. The seller enters the info for the customer, on the customer. Marketing then can see it, and Salesforce.com. Marketing should be providing information back from a strategic area to the sellers, telling them, here's where you want to go, which then in turn will increase their sales incentive play at the end, which entices them to go after the right opportunities. So from that, you have to balance what is your real solution versus reality. As I mentioned, marketing wanted 80 fields on our consumption page. They wanted everything. Get me this, 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 and this. Sales goes, I might be able to get you 1 or 2. So we had to work to balance to find a happy medium. And that was finding the key data. What do you really need to make those decisions from that? And then the big thing I always get into is what's in it for sales? A lot of times in these tools, sellers are putting in information. They're constantly putting in information, but they're not getting anything back. So you have to say, what's in it for them? What's the hook that entices them to put that data in? So we work with marketing around that area. And then, as I said, we came back and we said Salesforce is our platform. So that's the tool we're going to use, along with Apex and the Force to build our solution. So I have a few screenshots to talk to you about from there. This is our consumption object. You'll notice the first thing up there that I highlighted is we identified 6 key fields that are going to be required. Now, sellers goes, I can work with that. The other thing is the first one is actually already filled in from. It's the account name. We bring that over from the account page. So they only have to touch 5 things. And of those 5 things, they're all pick list. So you make it even easier. And there's dependencies that drive those pick lists. So based on the market they pick or a process they pick, it drives other things. So from a seller's perspective, you're only talking about 30 seconds maybe. The other key, though, to meet marketing, we also added a bunch of other fields. Some of our pages based on the business may have 20, 30, 40 fields, because what we're finding then is if the seller has the information, let's capture it. Let them put it in there. And sellers then begin to understand the value to themselves. So we said, how can we make it even easier? We said, you know what, let's entice the sellers more. So we said, take the consumption, put it on your account page, put it right below your opportunities. We also, on our screen, and I didn't show it up here, is we also bring in our sales data from our ERP system. So we have our sales data up top, our opportunities right below it, and right below that, consumption. So a seller in one easy picture can really understand what's happening. They can see what they're selling, what they're going after, and what potentially they've identified that that customer uses that they haven't targeted yet. And we all believe in opportunity, so we try to make it even easier. We said you start with the consumption, and from consumption is where you create your opportunity. And seller, to make that even easier for you, since you've already entered the information on the consumption, we're going to pre-populate the opportunity for you. So when you get to the opportunity page, they really have 3 required fields in this business. One's the close date, one's the stage, the third is we ask for some pricing information. But all the other information that's not required on this opportunity comes from the consumption. So it's something they would have gathered already at the opportunity. We're just asking them to gather it a little sooner. So again, it goes back to when they're in that plant, start looking around. What are the materials that that customer uses? Start building that. And then the one thing we all love, dashboards and reports. My marketing folks love this. Now they actually have information. They can understand, is that a material I want to sell? If it is, how do we make it? Is it a market I want to enter? Are things going up and down in different areas? The biggest thing now is we have really good information about what is our market penetration. One of my managers in Spain, he knows where 98% of the material goes, and if he doesn't sell it, he knows who does. So when you talk about market intelligence and now setting strategies, it makes your business so much more leverageable. And then you can focus your manufacturing side on the right area. What are people starting to buy less of? And you move forward. So a little bit of the results. We've got a lot better collaboration between sales and marketing. Marketing is sharing back information. Sellers are capturing more information because they do that. So it's a give and take. It's a two-way street. And because of this, the biggest thing I look at is what is the payback, your ROI. When you look at that, you say, okay, the business has tied the opportunities to the consumption. Okay. Must be the ghost from last night. We've also identified the strategic places to go after. So sales managers now can look and see where are consumption opportunities, where are materials I'm not going after, and they can ask questions of their sellers. So it's a whole different conversation. It's proactive. And then the biggest thing from a sales professional is they now have better improved targets, which from a seller's perspective, that means more sales incentive, which means bigger payouts in their pocketbooks. And they like that. And so what do we learn? The key is you got to understand the business process. As I said, marketing wants this. Sales can give you this. You got to find a happy medium. You also have to see who's going to use the information and what information can you gather. Those are the 2 key pieces. Establish the business rules. You have to have everybody buy into it and set those key required fields as you do the business rules. And then establish the metrics. You know, dashboards are great, and I was at the Cloud little seminar yesterday, and they have some new tools coming out with dashboards where you can actually, you know, lay 2 matrices on, so you get your bar chart along with your lines, so you can see the trends in multiple ways, which is going to be excellent when that comes out in the next release or 2. And then do something with the information. The biggest thing that happened at the beginning was marketing gets all this information, they love it. They're getting all these reports out there, but the reports were going to senior managers. And everyone goes, okay, I'm putting this in, what's happening? So the key is sharing it back. When they started sharing it back to the sellers, as I said, it was great. The sellers started going, we'll give you more information. And the biggest thing, I have a picture up here, is the biggest thing we did is we made it easy. So now these sellers carry BlackBerries with a few little fields, a few clicks as they're walking through. They capture that information. Now you have better intelligence on your customers and how to do it. And with that, I want to thank you. And as Dwight mentioned, we'll hold questions to the end. I want to introduce Barry, who's going to be able to tell you a little about how they use the force in their application.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. Okay, good morning. My name is Barry Sobel from Velnick Inc. and tell you a little bit about Selnick. We were founded in 2001. We're an officer furniture reseller. About 70% of our business comes from lines that we import from China, and another 30% comes from sales from about 300 dropship vendors. We're located in Canton, Georgia, which is about 30 miles north of Atlanta. We have a huge warehouse, about 300,000 square foot warehouse. We have about 100 employees, and this year we're probably going to do $45 million in sales. And we do about 300 to 400 orders a day, so that's what we kind of run through our business each day. And we have various distribution channels, mostly e-commerce sites. Our big daddy is bizchair.com. And then we started doing some niche sites, which are church chairs, stack chairs, folding chairs, and restaurant seating. So our big, the chairs you're sitting in are the ones we currently sell. And we also do a wholesale division, which we sell to other internet sites, office dealers, and our big customer this past year was Walmart and Sam's Club. So, what was our life before Salesforce? Well, it wasn't pretty. We basically got a paper order. When someone placed an order on one of our websites, the website would basically send a paper order through the printer. We would take that order, that printed order, and basically process the order, walk it around the office, create picking tickets, and basically backlogs were shown by, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about this. Okay, so we were basically very paper intensive. Backlogs were shown by how much, as the backlog of piles of orders on people's desks, to process. We had non-value functions out there. We had actually a person called a runner, and they would run paper throughout the office to get orders processed. We had spreadsheet entry, and this, after an order was done, completed, we'd enter the data on a spreadsheet, and that's how we analyzed our business, through spreadsheets. And each month was a separate spreadsheet. And then we had an integration person that would basically integrate the orders from the websites into GP, the print picking tickets, which he would walk out in batch out to the warehouse. So you see, very manual, a lot of unnecessary manual process. And it basically gave us no data to analyze. We had very little analytics of our business. So after Salesforce, very happy employees, because what we did is we reduced the administration work around processing an order. And now we have all our business processes in one place. And there's a 360-degree view of the order. So when a customer calls up, punch in their order number, boom, it's right there. Every piece of information about that order is there. And now we have at the fingertips data, dashboards. We can analyze anything we want about our business. What lines are profitable, what vendors are profitable. Anything we want to analyze, we can analyze. And now the employees have one place to manage their plates, their work. It's not a pile of papers on their desk. They have views, list views that they basically can work through during the day, and they know they're done when they have nothing more in their view. So this chart shows all the business processes we put inside Salesforce. And as you can tell by the colors, if it's in blue, that's 100% done with inside Salesforce. If it's gold or tan, that process we've integrated with Salesforce and a third-party software. And then the orange is totally outside Salesforce. So we still capture all our orders in the Yahoo stores. Even when a customer service rep takes a phone order, they do it through the Yahoo store. It's just easier. It's a shopping cart. It's just easier. But then once the order is placed in in the website, we basically have a middleware that pumps all the data into Salesforce. So there's no rekeying. It just shows up in Salesforce. And then the credit card information also goes in. And then we have a process that's basically reviewing Salesforce to say what orders need to be charged. And when they find that criteria, they go out, call the credit card processor, and approve the credit card, and all that data, the approval code, all that stuff is pumped back into Salesforce. If it's declined, we get a notification that it's declined. We call the customer and figure all that out. And then through workflows, we generate picking tickets out to the warehouse. So once the criteria is met, a picking ticket is automatically emailed and printed out in the warehouse. No more walking, picking tickets back to the warehouse. And then in the warehouse, we basically have interfaces to all our logistics companies. We generate labels, all that stuff, and all the tracking numbers are pumped back into Salesforce. And then emails are sent out to our customers saying, hey, your order's been shipped, here's your tracking number. And all that's done through Salesforce. And then on our dropship side, we do all the purchasing in Salesforce. All the purchase orders to all the dropship vendors are done inside Salesforce. And they do that through a Conga merge, one of the AppExchange form makers. And then also then we send out the statuses to our customers. So what we're also doing, besides the order processing, is we're tracking inventory inside Salesforce. And we're doing that through a custom object called products, warehouse products. And we do all our purchasing to our Chinese vendors inside Salesforce. So we create a purchase order. That purchase order is sent to the vendor in China. And when the goods are received at our dock, we do all that receiving inside Salesforce. And an approval of all that receiving is done inside Salesforce. So through roll-up fields on this product object, we're basically tracking the sales items of that product and the purchase items. So the ins and outs of inventory are right there. You just roll it up, and you have just an available quantity for each SKU we have out in the warehouse. And basically what we do with that information is we feed it to our websites to tell our websites that if something's available, out of stock, back ordered, what's the story. And then we also track the cost of every sale item that we sell through a FIFO layering, and I do that kind of manual process. But basically, by putting that cost data back into Salesforce, gives us the ability to run all these profitability reports by line, by vendor. And then we also do our AR management. Some of our customers do purchase orders, especially on the wholesale side, and there we do invoicing automatically, and we also do customer payments. And we manage our AR. Basically, the person's in charge of collection. She has a view. These are all your customers who are over 60 days, and she manages it that way. So how did we do it? So this is our implementation process. I mean, we didn't start out of the box, right away, have all the functionality we wanted. But basically, within the first 2 months, we did our order process and got basically the main thing going and launched it July 2008. So we cut off the paper orders July 1st, 2008. And then we started adding all these other functions, interfacing to the logistics, the inventory tracking, the automatic credit card processing, the EDI. And then we started adding customer service stuff like web to lead to create shipping quotes. We've done email to case. We've done auto creation of the picking tickets through a Visual Force email. And you can see by the timelines, it didn't take that much time. You can just do things very quickly inside the platform. And you can just launch them, implement them. It's very quick. So what were our results? Well, we're more productive. It takes less people now to do more orders in our organization. Like the first process, the actual prepping the order and getting out to the warehouse, that used to be a 3-person job. Now it's a 1-person job. Better tracking of orders. It's not a piece of paper on somebody's desk. It's in Salesforce. Less processing, so it's quicker to get the order out to the warehouse to pick. And that leads to faster shipping times. And now we have all the data we want to analyze our business. So what's profitable? Do we need to decrease a price because something's not selling well? And all that's made by the data inside Salesforce. And now we have better customer service. So when a customer calls, all the data is there for the CSR to know where the order is, what problems are, They can track all the calls in Salesforce, all their activities, do reminder tasks. All that's done inside Salesforce. So the lessons learned. When you start building an app, go out to the App Exchange. There's a ton of stuff. A lot of it's free or costs very minimal. You don't have to recreate the wheel or start from scratch. There's stuff out there that people have already developed that you can basically start as a platform to build your own app. DIY, do it yourself. Basically, I did it. I built my entire app. I didn't have IT. I basically had a developer who did a lot of the interfaces, but all the custom objects, all the custom fields, all the workflows, everything, I basically did it myself. And again, to make changes, it's fast. The modifications are fast. You can just if things aren't working, you just change them, implement them. You get your users' feedback. So if something's not like, they want a field in a different page layout, you just do it, and it's fast. I mean, I keep stressing that, but that's how it's so easy. And then every time Salesforce comes out with a new release, you should review the notes and see, how can I improve my app? What new functionality is out there? Because every quarter, or every few months, they release a new version of Salesforce, and it's always going to have something you can improve your app. Always, guaranteed. So, that's it. Yep. Well, thank you, and I'll turn it over to Dana.
Wow, I'm following some very sophisticated users. And I'm the only thing standing between you and that iPod drawing, so that's a lot of pressure. Moriseki manufactures machine tools for the metalworking industry. We sell to customers in industries like transportation, construction, orthopedics, and electronics manufacturing. And I didn't get my first click there. Let me try the keyboard. There we go. And the average selling price of any particular unit is about $200,000. So we're talking a fairly small volume of units. We've been using Salesforce now for just 2 years since I joined the company, and all of our sales are exclusively through distribution. We had some challenges 2 years ago. I inherited a homegrown CRM system that was developed by my company. We had isolated pockets of data. The system was somewhat inflexible, and CRM implementation was really not my top priority. What I was tasked to do was to start up a new business development division, and the fact that we didn't have a functioning CRM as a foundation was just one more step in that process. And incidentally, I worked with an IT department whose priority was more data security than it was about process optimization. This slide just shows the business development challenge that we were facing at that time. Based on market data, our universe of possible buyers is somewhere between 50 and 100,000 companies in the U.S. We also have a source of data called UCC filings that shows machine tool sales to these companies. And our own sales data, through analysis of our own sales data, we recognized that we were missing opportunities in about 80% of the market. We named this 80% the phantom market, and there are many factors that explain how the best network of machine tool distributors in the country could be missing 80% of the business. But to sum it up, our favorite is just to call it the milk run. We have a group of distributors who are used to serving a group of customers and working that business, and they simply don't have the time to take on new and challenging opportunities. So we use Salesforce.com to build a roadmap for the new business development division. This is a team of telemarketers who would focus on finding prospects within the phantom market and then turning them over to our traditional distribution channel. And it was very easy within Salesforce to build a custom roadmap, a 7-step sales process, and to create the accounts and contacts and activities that we could share between sales and marketing and distribution. And this slide just shows a summary of our results. Our first one was to achieve 1 touch per month within the prospects in the phantom market, either through our telephone calls or through other marketing channels. And incidentally, kind of a side note, 1 touch per month was just a mantra of last year, and it sounded great, but ultimately we realized that's way too much. Buying capital equipment is kind of like buying a house. And although I have a realtor who I like and would use again or would recommend to friends, I really don't need to hear from her once a month to know she's still out there. So we've made a few modifications, but Salesforce did give us the way that we could manage all of these accounts in one place to track the calls, the direct mail, the email campaigns, and build that history. And for the first time, we could actually close the loop on our sales leads. Manufacturers were probably not known for being on the cutting edge of marketing or computing or anything except how to make the best widget. But I have to admit that until 2 years ago, all we were doing with our sales leads was throwing them into the black hole of email and hoping that things worked out when they got out into the field. So we've certainly come a long way. And the new business development group and the Salesforce.com initiative were both significant investments for Moriseki. And as a result, I spent a lot of time showing our progress and showing reports on this division to management. And as a result, one of our vice presidents suggested that Salesforce might actually help us improve workflow in a completely different area of the company. And that's in our engineering department. Our engineering group is a core team of applications and manufacturing technology experts, and how we apply those resources can either bring us new business or just very quickly add to the overhead in our company. And when I talk about resources, this is what I'm talking about, the manpower and the machines. Here our engineer Paul is standing in front of one of our newest mill-turn machining centers. He's holding a human bone implant machined out of titanium that he made in 2.5 minutes. So we had a real time-consuming and challenging process of managing all of our engineering resources. The form on the right is one that we created in Excel. It prints out to about 2.5 pages long. You can see all of the detail involved. And we also had sort of a workflow system explaining how to use this form, what to do after you created this form. We had naming protocol for files and folders so that after you made one of these forms and you put it away, you know, how would we ever find it again, because it's not tied to anything. And hopefully it's on the server and not on someone's desktop system. This form we call a REASE form, which is a request for enhanced engineering services. And as slow and ugly as this process was, it was also very ingrained within our engineering department. The engineers were comfortable with this process, and engineers are not the easiest people to reprogram. So rather than choosing an off-the-shelf product for time management, of which I'm sure there are many very good ones, we decided to create an engineering roadmap based on this REASE form and link it into Salesforce.com. So this was a custom application. And the result was a full process integration. Here you can see a line item entry representing one REASE form, and it is attached to the account as it should be. And we can view calendars by engineer or by groups and see what they're working on, or click on the calendar to view the complete project details. So here you can see Chris has spent some time working on our grand opening event and also on a number of different test cuts earlier in this month. And this is a very simple real-time report of REASE activity. As of last week, you can see how our engineering team as a whole spent their time in November. And the tallest bar at about 6,100 hours is for test cuts, and that's good news because that's how we sell our products. But we can also see other levels of detail and see that number 3, which is at about 3,000 hours, is time the engineering department allocated to that grand opening event I was telling you about. They had to program and set up 25 different machines, and that was just a huge use of resources. Anyway, these kinds of reports used to be generated in Excel based on spreadsheets full of manual entries and I'm sure errors and omissions as well. So now when a distributor argues that we're not spending enough time on test cuts, not only can we show exactly where we're spending our time, but we have lots of different levels of detail to back that up. So as you know, Salesforce.com is very flexible. There are an endless number of built-in features and third-party apps, but it's also easy to create your own forms and reports based on existing business practices. In the case of our engineering department, the forms, the language, and the processes were really entrenched, and so it made more sense for us to build a simple process around that rather than to try and change the way that they work. Another thing I've learned during the past 2 years is the value of integrating simple and daily tasks as often as possible. We recently created a very simple process for ordering business cards, which used to be done by email or by a request to the marketing department, and now it's automated. We've done the same with something we call a trip report. And the more that we put these small, repetitive tasks into Salesforce, the more our users get comfortable with that environment. And also, I would recommend taking advantage of platform licenses for new or light users. This year, I don't have the budget to give everyone in the company a Salesforce.com license. Only active users have that privilege. But for a very low cost, we can give limited access to every department like HR or administration or the parts department. And when they see what can be done in the system, they're going to come up with their own solutions. And when they come up with their own original solutions, like the engineering department did with their resource management, it becomes very, very easy for me to justify the cost of the additional user licenses that we need going forward. So at Moriseki, the other thing is that this grassroots approach is just much more powerful than one where management says we have a new process or we have a new procedure. People are finding their own solutions, and I think that's been a very exciting part of the process for me. And I'll turn it back over to Barry. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dana. So, and actually, Barry is going to come up. I thought it might be interesting for you to see some of his org. And he's going to walk through a couple of screens and business processes, and then we'll open up for a Q&A. So think about your questions, and we'll have you queue up here at the mic in a few minutes. Thanks.
Okay, so this is our org. And when I start going into the page layouts, I'm an admin, so I see everything. When you go to more of a customer service or a processor, they don't have access to or see a lot of the fields. But basically, this is our main, when everyone logs in, this is the main dashboard they see, kind of our sales for the day, the number of orders we're doing. And actually, this is today. This is how Belnick is doing today. And actually, I've kind of installed the new dashboards, and they got this hover thing, which is pretty cool. Okay, so I'm just going to go into an order. And I'm going to try to get to an order that has both warehouse and vendor. We actually have one. There we go. Okay, so this is our... Okay. So this is our sales order. We link it to an account, and basically the middleware does that. It'll get the account data from the website, and it'll look through the account database to see if there's an existing account and tie that order if it finds a match. And it basically does it through the billing address or phone number. And we have our external number, and that's our Yahoo number, and then we auto-assign a number from Salesforce. And that gives us all the address information. These are all roll-up fields of the actual items that the customer is buying. He's buying a couple drop ship items and one product that we stock in our warehouse. And here are the drop ship purchase orders. So we have a process that basically is looking for drop ship items. And when they find drop ship items, we auto-create these drop ship purchase orders. So a user isn't creating the drop ship, these records. The system is actually pulling and basically auto-creating purchase orders to be queued up to be processed. So again, no one had to click buttons, no one had to enter data. It's just doing it automatically. So when we pass it to the purchasing department, they have a view basically. Let's And Anna, Anna's one of our process. Here's her list. This is the list she works from every day. And when she's done for the day, and there's no more in her queue, she can go home. But that's never the case. And I get to manage them. So so I can manage that department. I can see how many they've completed for the day, how many are in their backlog, and and what's their productivity over the next 60 days. So it's a great management tool. All right, let's go back to the order. So that's basically the drop ship side. And then, let me do the credit card. So here's the credit card. It actually hasn't been charged yet. But basically, when we put the credit card information in, and once the credit card information in, the system will go out and do an interface with our credit card company and bring back the approval and all that stuff. We don't get our credit card information from the feed from the Yahoo store directly because it's sensitive information. We basically have to download that in a separate step and bring it in. So once the credit card's been charged, we're ready to create a picking ticket. And all the person does is the processor, all she has to do is change the owner from her name to the fulfillment warehouse queue. So I'm not going to do it, but once she hits this and changes the owner and saves it, what happens is the system sends an email out to the warehouse. I'm going to do what the system does. It basically sends this out to the warehouse, and it's just automatically printed out there. And this is what it looks like. And that's just automatically printed out in the warehouse. And basically, this was done through a Visual Force email template. So I'm grabbing data from accounts, from items, from the order. Your regular email template in Salesforce, you only can grab from that one object you're on. But with a Visual Force email template, you can grab from multiple objects. And it's not that hard to do. I found an example on the App Exchange, put it into my org, modified it, and this is what I was able to do this. So it's out there.
Okay, great. That's great, Barry. I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. All right. Okay, so now we'll take your questions. So please just queue up to the mic. We're recording the session, so we want to be able to capture not only the answer, but the question too. And don't be shy. So while you're thinking about some questions, I have a couple myself to ask. So Dana, what other applications are you integrating with your Force.com and your Salesforce deployment? Are you using other partner applications in your process?
Well, the ones we're using right now, of course, are mainly for marketing, which I think are kind of common uses. But we're using a vertical response for direct mail. That's worked very good for promotion of one of our recent events. And some of our challenges going forward are going to be integrating the distributor, bringing the distributor channel on board. That's a big project for this coming year.
Okay, great. And a question for Barry. You already had Great Plains. So just share with us, what led to using Force.coms to deliver a lot of these back office capabilities and kind of the decision process you went through.
Well, I think Great Plains, you got to have a consultant to basically run the thing. And it doesn't give you the flexibility. I mean, you can't do different page layouts. You can't do views. You can't. They want you to be their ERP system, but it doesn't give you the control, the flexibility to do that, or at least I think. And I think Salesforce is or the Force.com platform just gives you the flexibility, the control to do it how you want to do it, not how they want to do it.
Okay, great, thanks. And Mike, Ashland is a Fortune 500 company, a large organization. Walk us through, what is the process like in terms of, I'm sure you've got a list of things you'd like to do. How does that process work in terms of determining what gets built and what gets built in Force.com versus maybe other solutions?
We have a lot of, the nice thing about it is that with any company you need a governance process. So we actually are able at times, following the process, the key is the business, outlining their requirements and understanding that. That's what takes most of the effort. Once we get that piece of it, we then are able to get it to our technical team in a way that they can make those decisions. We use Force, we use Apex, we're even using the new Adobe Flex with that. So we have the whole toolbox there, but we've already chosen Salesforce as the platform, so we know it's going to be in Salesforce. The question is, what is the best way to meet that requirement from the business? Mm-hmm. And the key there is having the business partners going back and forth. Barry mentioned it, so did Dana, working closely with them, so you're constantly looking at it, testing it. We do have a sandbox of Salesforce, so we're constantly putting things in there, letting the business play with it before we release it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. If there's a question, please, if you could please go up to the microphone. We just need to record that. Otherwise, people viewing this later are only going to get half the response here.
A question on the sandbox. It's our understanding if you develop things in the sandbox, how do you migrate that over to the production area? Do you have to rewrite the screens and the code again?
You're getting into some of the technical sides. I'm more on the business side. But I know there are tools within Salesforce that allow you to promote things from your sandbox to your production environment.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, if you go over to, actually, I'll share with this. If you go over to the developer forum, they have a nice book right now out on the Force and starting with the Force. And in there, if you ask those questions, they can answer that on how to promote it from the sandbox to the production environment.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions? Okay, with that, before we...
Wait.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, a question for Dana. Your Phantom Market, what was your capture rate after you started using Salesforce to try to get it? Like, how much did you capture and how fast did you capture it?
Our success has been impacted by the business downsizing and actually losing a few positions in the business development. So we were looking for a 1 to 2% gain in market share. I think we're roughly around 10% now, so that's what we were hoping for. However, there's also some distance between the number of opportunities my marketing team can put out there for distribution and then the orders that are closed as a result of those opportunities. That's actually another segment of the process that we have to look at. But we were looking for a 1 to 2% gain.
Barry, I just was interested in the rest of your inventory processes. I know we have a lot of different things that we do in order to maintain inventories.
Right.
I saw that you relieve inventory with a sales order, but how do you make sure that you have the right stuff in inventory and there's not loss and we have to do cycle counting?
Well, we do quarterly physicals, and we match it to the quantity in Salesforce, and just reconcile on a quarterly basis. Plus, we'll do some random cycle counts, and we found Salesforce is pretty spot on. I mean, because we're basically tracking the ins and outs, and we just start with the beginning physical count, and it seems to work.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay, so real quick, please complete an online survey, another opportunity to win something. And really appreciate your time today, and especially if you can give another round of applause for our great customer speakers. Great, so thank you. This concludes our session. I'm going to grab the prize bucket, and we'll find out who walks home with an iPod Touch today.
Most important thing.
Okay, so everyone get your tickets out. All right. Looks like a lot of these fell into a crease, so I'll give everyone a shot. All right. Yeah. All right. Well, someone's just dropped. All right. Okay, Dana, I'll let you pick.
Why did I know that was coming? Okay.
let's go and read, you can read the number.
Okay, the winner is 773087.
Do we have a winner? All right. Congratulations. All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. All right. Thanks again, everyone. If you're just one quick point, big announcements today around Force.com at the keynote, which is happening momentarily. So please join us in the keynote session, and you'll hear all about it. Thank you.